What do you know is going on inside Iran now?
It's horrible. It's a bloodbath.
12,000 people and possibly as many as 20,000 have been killed.
I think that's accurate.
I think there's more. Considering it's already been 6 days of a blackout and their average is 10,000 a day, you do the math.
Are your family safe?
No, nobody's family is safe right now. I had 21 death threats from the Islamic Republic. They know exactly where I am. They know exactly who I am. 50 mosques were set on fire.
So the mosques represent the regime to the
The
people.
mosques represent the regime and the slaughterhouse in Iran. The mosque is not a place of unity, community, and holiness. No. They take Iranians there to rape and kill. Saying his name is treason. And the BBC doesn't say his name because the BBC brought in Khomeini into Iran.
What do you mean the BBC brought them in?
Bodies of our innocent people calling out for the return of the king.
These protests are much bigger than the many protests we've had over the last couple of decades.
It's a revolution. When people come and say, President Trump just announced...
The killing has stopped and the executions won't take place.
Just because he announced it, it doesn't mean he accepted it. Doesn't mean he's not going to take action. The 0 bombs falling on Iran last night was a fabulous strategic move.
Why?
It exposed all the bunkers that these rats are going to hide in. Watch the next few days.
Lily Moo, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for taking time to speak with me, particularly as you or your family are in Iran as we speak. The world has been watching. There's somewhat of an internet blackout, so we can't see exactly what's going on. We get occasional glimpses. We know that the Americans are sending a sort of Navy group from the South China Sea towards Iran. This is we'll go into how the build up to this situation now that's unfolding across your country.
Mm-hmm.
Before we get into that, I want to ask about your story a little bit. I came across you because I saw you were leading the protests in London. You're British Iranian, and you're leading the protests not just very recently regarding what's going on, but you've been involved in the sort of would you say pro-Israel protests or pro-Jewish protests over the last couple of years since October 7th?
So I started my activities against the Islamic Republic in Iran in September of 2022, actually.
Oh.
On the day our late queen, may she rest in peace, Mahsa Amini was murdered in Iran at the hands of the morality police for simply existing and being a woman. A few strands of her hair was showing, and then we know the rest of the story. An entire revolution was sparked.
This is the Woman Life Freedom Against
It
movement.
was, yes. Woman Life Freedom became the chant of the nationalist revolution against this regime. However, that message was sort of diluted and stolen by the sort of globalist feminist left who prefer virtue signaling rather than action. And we will get onto that too.
Mm-hmm.
The focus of the today's events right now, and why is it that I do what I do, is because after one entire year of actively, relentlessly campaigning against a terrorist and anti-Semitic regime of the Islamic Republic, who every day and every Friday in their morning prayers, their supreme leader calls out for the diminishing and the destruction of the West. They say death to England, they say death to Israel, and they say death to America. They have no respect for this country. They have no respect for my life or your life. And when I was talking about this, I try to warn the international communities that if we don't stand up against this regime as they are killing our people during the 22 uprising, nationalist uprising, we will have attacks, fatal attacks against the West. And that kinetic movement took place on October 7th in the borders of Israel at the hands of the Islamic Republic through the actions of Hamas. And that action alone pushed me into 2 years of living on the run, because I called it out. Along with my family, we went to the Israeli embassy on October 7th to show support and unity with the Israeli people who have been imminently attacked. And they had no idea what was going on. It was in the first few hours. And walking back to the car was a terrifying moment for me, because I knew that's it. As an Iranian who's been exposed in London in activities against this regime, who also already has death threats on me, I had 21 death threats from the Islamic Republic during the first year, during Mahsa Amini movements. And I knew they know exactly where I am. They know exactly who I am. And their friends and allies here know exactly who I am and where I am. My 4 steps to the car was one of the most terrifying experiences for me. And I thought, people of Iran are being brave. They are coming to the streets and they're saying, "Na Gaza, na Lebanon, janam fadaye Iran." What it means is, nor Gaza, neither Lebanon. My life belongs to Iran. And I will fight for the safety of Iran. I will fight for the safety of the international community. And I will raise the flag of Israel, and I will say what happened in Israel is a crime at the hands of the regime that is holding my people hostage. And that is what I do.
Okay, so you got those death threats not because of the pro-Israel advocacy you've been doing, but actually rather
Anti-IRGC advocacy.
Anti-IRGC from 2022.
That's
if we could just
correct.
rewind one step further back, when did you move from Iran to Britain?
In the year 2000, I was 13 years old.
Why?
My family's life was in danger. But I don't want to, we will talk about that on another podcast one day.
Okay, so you moved to Britain, you chose Britain. Why did your family choose Britain?
The UK had the Queen. We had been betrayed by so-called democratic Republicans before. My mom felt safest here because she remembered my mom was a monarchist, and her life was put in danger in Iran, and she knew our safe place would be where there is a body of water between the traitors of Iran and us. And the traitors of Iran have come all the way through Europe, and they want to hurt us everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't know they set root in England when we got here.
Yeah.
But we found safety, we assimilated, we became British, we kept our Iranian identity as we will always do, but we pledged allegiance to the crown here. And for that, with respect and absolute honor, I will call out to our beloved King Charles. You sat with Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi in your youth. Let us take him home. Help us in our move to take back our country. The Iranian diaspora has been a guest in the UK and a very grateful guest. We have done our best to assimilate and bring our capabilities and good with us. Unfortunately, as we came here in pursuit of safety, our enemies followed us. IRGC came to the UK and set camp here. An Islamic center opened in Maidaville, in Westminster, where the Ayatollah sets his thugs and administrative thugs to take action here. That very Islamist...
When did he do that?
The Islamic Center is open right now.
When was it open? Do we know?
I can't remember even. We can look that up.
Yeah, okay.
All I know is that in the past 4 years, I've been trying to close it. And for some reason, apparently, being a charity is enough to stay open, even if that charity is paying directly to a terrorist organization. Mm-hmm. And the movement and the ideology that is poured in from IRGC members and IRGC supporters and Khomeini apologists and Khomeinists here in the UK,
mm-hmm.
and the safety and impunity that this government, Labour government, wants to give them. That frightens me.
Okay, so we're going to come to all of that. I'll colour in a little bit that what you're saying, which is just when it comes to Britain, the MI5 director Ken McCallum said at the end of 2024 that the MI5 responded to 20 Iran-backed plots against presenting potential lethal threats to British citizens and UK residents since the start of 2022. So that's over a 2-year period. The Guardian have reported something similar. The most famous example is Salman Rushdie, who got a fatwa in 1988, I believe it was. And of course, he was attacked 30 years later in upstate New York a few years ago, back in 2022 in Chautauqua, and he was blinded there in one eye. So it is the case, and he's obviously a British citizen, it is the case that the IRGC are an enemy of Britain, but Starmer, our Prime Minister, has not declared the IRGC to be a proscribed terrorist group. He said it's futile, it's pointless, but it's clear that they're an enemy, not just of Britain, but of America. There's been 2 attempts on Trump's life. They also tried to kill John Bolton and Pompeo. So there have been, I think, a couple of dozen attempts in America on American citizens by Iran-affiliated...
Bondi Beach.
Bondi Beach?
Bondi Beach.
They're IRGC-backed?
IRGC-backed.
Really?
Came out. For some reason, the Albanese government is dancing around it, but it already came out. The perpetrator who was behind it, the IRGC member and the Islamic Republic officer in place there, his name is already out there. I will find it and send it to you so you can
yes,
verify
please, yeah.
that.
Wow. So, and you make the case, of course, about Israel. Iran have been funding the sort of circle of fire around Israel, Hezbollah, Houthis. We've done many episodes on that on this show. So I kind of share your opinion that Iran are a true threat of the West. But let's hone into what's going on right now before we go into how we've come to this place. So what do you know is going on inside Iran now, considering we've got this blackout? It's very hard to make out exactly what's the truth about the massacres that's going on, what's the truth about the protests, who exactly is supporting who, what is it? What are your impressions?
First and foremost, who is exactly supporting who is the people of Iran calling out for their freedom and the return of the king, His Royal Highness Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi, to be crowned as they're calling him to be a king, but over here in the language of public diplomacy, in order to make it digestible for so many people who just refuse to accept that Iranian people do not want to carry on under the regime of the Ayatollahs after 47 years of brutality. There is going to be a legal and democratic move led by the Crown Prince and the people of Iran into this transition period. And then there will be a referendum. Should the people choose constitutional monarchy and a democratic parliament, that will be the way under the Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi's kingdom. Should they want to have a democratic Republican government, representatives will come forward, campaigns will take place, and then that will follow through. Up until then, for now, one unifying figure, one country, one flag.
Okay. Well, I'm actually not entirely convinced of Reza Pahlavi's popularity within Iran.
No,
I haven't seen any evidence of how popular. Yes, it's true that there are people calling for him to be installed as the Shah. For sure, that there's evidence of that. But it's not clear to me that he's completely supported by all the protesters. Is he?
Yes, he's completely supported
by the protesters.
Absolutely. At the last, on the 14th day and the 15th day of this revolution, he came out and he called out for the people. He said, I heard your message. If you truly mean it, come to the streets in your millions and call my name. And that's what they did. 2 days after that was proven, there was a blackout, a digital blackout. And what followed through is bodies piling up in Iran. Bodies of our innocent people calling out for the return of the king. And there is another reason why you don't hear much about the popularity of Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi. Saying the name Pahlavi is an act of treason in Iran. People get shot in public places at the hands of IRGC, as they did with Omid Sarlak, an Iranian young pilot who set fire to Khamenei's picture and pledged allegiance to the King Arya Mehr and Reza Pahlavi, the Crown Prince of Iran. 2 days after that, he was shot dead. Iranian people. Another thing, we have Banu, we have Lady Fatemeh Sepehri, a Muslim woman who wears the hijab in Iran, who is a political prisoner and has been for the past decade almost, tortured and in bad health. And the reason why she is in that position is because she calls allegiance with the Pahlavi family. Now, in the international scene, other than the Iranian nationalists and a few people who pay attention to human rights, only those call her name. However, certain other celebrity prisoners that are being used as tools of this regime are getting accolades left, right, and center, and phone calls from virtue signaling, self-loving, self-proclaimed saviors of the world celebrities such as Little Miss Julie. She goes to Gaza during the days when Iranian people are dying. She gives her name to be used by tools of the regime. And Iranian people themselves are just what? A story for victimhood.
So again, I have no doubt that there are people who support Reza Pahlavi, but it might be helpful actually to just rewind and look at how this latest protests erupted,
yes.
because I don't think it's exactly right that it erupted because he called for people to take to the streets. It actually was an economic problem.
So, yes.
So we had the bank failure. There was a bank failure in autumn 2025. Over the next few months, Iran has had a terrible economic collapse. The Wall Street Journal have reported that the currency, the rial, has lost 84% of its value compared with the dollar, and that was in 2025.
Zero at the moment.
Right. Food prices have rose at an annual rate of 72%. Not on top of that, you've got sort of energy and water crises, and you've got the American sanctions. So Trump now has not just been sanctioning Iran since the beginning of his second term, but since the beginning of 2026, he's brought in secondary sanctions. So countries doing business with Iran are getting 25% blanket.
They shouldn't be shaking hands with mullahs.
Right. This is most specifically relevant to China, because China take about 90% of Iran's oil. So anyway, I say this to make the point that this started as an economic crisis.
Yes, and I'm going to break down all of these points you made. The economic unrest that was sparked and blew all over Iran, where 31 provinces decided to take action right now as we are speaking in the past 3 weeks. Yes, the value of the rial fell versus the dollar, and it became zero compared to euro and pound. And Iranian people had already lived under an imposed poverty by this regime for the past 47 years. Every single uprising Iranians have had over the past 3 years alone have been, imagine that the past 2 years, Iran's news was silenced due to the pro-Palestinian movement that was happening on all over media. So every uprising that was happening, every execution that was happening in Iran was just not known to the world because it wasn't interesting enough. However, people were in the streets. People were protesting. They were going on strikes after strikes after strikes. And all of these things have already accumulated. The reason why when the first shutter was pulled down in the bazaar of Tehran had an effect is because that spark was necessary, an ignition for a mountain of TNT that had piled up of oppression and poverty and removal of all of human rights, in the removal of all dignity. Iranians didn't come to the streets only because the value of rial fell. Iranians saw the zero value of rial as their existence becoming zero to the international community. They came out, and as they had worked so hard in the past silent 2 years, united forces on the ground, people knew they have one king, and that's why when they came in the bazaar of Tehran, they said Javid Shah, eternal be the king. In every street corner, they say in English, King Reza Pahlavi. Irrefutable evidence of today's demonstrations and revolution that when saying the name Pahlavi means a bullet in your chest, when treason against this regime is seen as punishable by death without trial, that action has already taken place. And when people come and say, oh, President Trump just announced that the Iranians have said, oh, they're going to stop the killing, just because he announced it, it doesn't mean he accepted it. Doesn't mean he's not going to take action. The silence, the zero bombs falling on Iran last night was a fabulous strategic move by the military surrounding Iran.
Why?
Because it exposed all the bunkers that these rats are going to hide in. In that state of fear, they expose themselves. Watch the next few days. I'm not going to say anything about that. I'm just predicting the downfall and the free fall of this regime before Nowruz this year. Nowruz is 20th of March. 15th of March, this regime will be gone before St. Patrick's Day.
Okay. So it's the threat is enough, you think, particularly after the 12-day war in last June,
Absolutely.
with the American B-2 bombers, particularly targeting Fordow and the nuclear program. Mm-hmm. It's that threat that is enough to scare the members of the regime, the IRGC, into hiding. And so it's encouraging the protesters.
Yes, not just the B-2 bombers. It's the surgical removal of the IRGC thugs and the terrorist generals. So, for example, during the Israel-Hamas war, I believe it was in August of 2024, where Ismail Haniyeh, a terrorist from Hamas leader, went to Tehran, and Iranians were in danger because he went to Tehran. Iranians did not get hit. His room in his villa was hit. Only Ismail Haniyeh died. Mm. That's quite okay. Iranians welcomed the death of terrorists at the hands of their allies in the country. Mm-hmm. Iranian people were sacrificed and killed during the 12-day war at the hands of this regime when they threw their own ballistic missile on the northern area of Tehran, Narmak. Have a look. They didn't have enough casualties because during the 12-day war, when the IRGC was putting checkpoint after checkpoint, every 2 meters there were 4 IRGC thugs with their guns surrounding people's cars, harassing civilians, holding their devices. 20,000 people were arrested during that 12 days war. Do you know why that was? They had liked our comments.
They got arrested for liking comments on social media?
Pro-Israel accounts like mine, yes.
Wow.
That's the kind of regime we're dealing with. And now I have another thing to say. Everybody who wants to waste breath and air and quality time talking about how they despise the way the Shah of Iran dealt with the treasonist MEK and Tudeh Party communist terrorists who bear arm against Iranian civilians in order to...
We should just explain, sorry, who these are to people who are new to this. The MEK are a Kurdish communist group.
They're not just a Kurdish communist group. MEK are the Mujahideen Khalq. They are a communist, Marxist, Islamist group and a death cult where they indoctrinated even children or had taken children to demonstrations against the regime when they were in primary school and pre-high school. Mm-hmm. And those children were murdered at the hands of the regime. And now they're, after having kidnapped people's children, taken them to demonstrations, they massacred, they are now carrying those children's pictures and they're saying they were our members. These are the thieves we are dealing with. Do not give your airtime to MEK. MEK is just disgusting. Their crimes against humanity has enough documentaries out there, more than this regime.
Okay, and you say this to presuppose that the options to replace the current regime are MEK or Reza Pahlavi.
No. No,
but
I'm saying this because a lot of people, when they are faced with the truthful fact that Iranian people want Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi, they keep looking for diversions. In the same way people denied October 7 ever happened, and they said it was the fault of Israel that they came, they divert from the truth. And when they hear Reza Pahlavi and a united free Iran tomorrow, for some reason, it's not computing enough with their memory. They like the idea of a destroyed, devastated Iranian who is going to be a refugee here, who is going to apply herself and his life and his capabilities here, and then still a second-class citizen culturally, mentally, emotionally, while being praised as some of the good migrants. Mm. Iranian diaspora needs to go home. We don't have time for all of this noise that people want to divert from the true message of Iran. And yes, it is an isolationist message. It's a patriotic movement. My country has been devastated. It has been taken by terrorists. I don't have time for these soft questions that people want to think about a diplomatic blah, blah. We tried diplomatic routes. We tried diplomatic routes for 3 years. After Mahsa Amini was killed, we tried all the diplomatic routes. And you know what happened? The weak constitution of Biden administration went and gave accolades and money to a regime that was killing my people in order to do a prisoner exchange. And guess what? That prisoner exchange never happened. People got executed. Jamshid Sharmat was executed. The prisoners who were supposed to be set free from the American prisons, they sought refuge in America, not to go back to that regime.
Right. So I was keen to ask you about, and we'll come back to this, what's the appropriate response from the West and America and Britain, or not that Britain has much power, but America certainly. But I still just want to get into precisely what's going on as we speak in Iran. So what I've taken from your response to me about the economic crisis is not just the economy, it's a legitimacy crisis.
A legitimacy.
And those things go in hand in hand.
And it's a side effect of this. Economy is a side effect. So the dignity of Iranians started declining when they were imposed into a position of a person under poverty. They left a good life under the Shah and became survivors rather than those who live. The name survivor was becoming an accolade of this regime. It's the people who've been hurt, the oppressed people of Iran against the 8-year war that was prolonged at the hands of this regime. The oppressed people of Iran who are facing the sanctions of Americans. I'm sorry, before you guys came into power, Iran was fabulous. Iran was thriving. Iran was learning how to become a modern country. Surrounding Iran.
You mean before 79?
Before 79, absolutely before 79.
But I mean, it wasn't just a total haven.
No, but it was growing there. I mean, 40 years ago, Emirates wasn't in capabilities to send people on Mars. Yet thriving, innovative, and management of country and structure has brought them here.
Right.
I don't want to talk about...
Or would it be fair to say that certainly in comparison with the totalitarian nature of the current dictatorship, that looked like a period of prosperity and thriving, as you described. But I mean, there was a somewhat authoritarian nature to the Shah when he was in power before 79.
Yes, but it was necessary at the time.
Why?
Because when, for example, during the time when all the hippies were going around the world and this post-war, so the Nazis are over, the communists are still like a hoo-ha mishmash, and we still don't know in the Western free world what is exactly happening. We just know there's going to be spirituality and summer of love and all of that hoo-ha. Iranians were doing the same. Along that movement, some very menacing forces came up and sought opportunity in this boundless kumbaya utopian dystopian version of the Iranian youth. And it symbolized, manifested, and formed itself in very, very progressive yet terrorist breeding groups, such as the today Communist Party of Iran. And when those people were caught taking action against the state, against the safety of Iranian people, if a person commits an act of terrorism in the UK, should they be treated with kindness?
Obviously not.
Is it totalitarian to say your ideas of hate are not welcome? That is what happened with the Shah and the Savak. And anybody who wants to say anything other than that is the same as they're just repeating the propaganda that brought Khomeini in. I don't have time to go through an unraveling of a propaganda that gave room to this regime. My focus right now is the fact that the Shah of Iran was indeed a kind man, whether the international community wants to believe that or not. We Iranians speaking Farsi, we Iranians have the living memory of that. We have the living memory of joy, and then we have the living memory of trauma. We choose joy. We choose being part of the international community and contributors of international community, just like during the time when the Shah sent Iranian students to universities here, and then they became progressives, and then they went and destroyed Iran. Iranians were supposed to be part of the international community. Now Iranians cannot leave Iran because they are seen as defectors against the regime. That's the people held hostage. And on top of that, I want to say, why do you think Emirates, one of the most progressive countries in the Middle East right now, has pulled funding for its students to come to universities in the UK out of fear of Islamization and radicalized Islamization. See, this action being taken like that in the UK right now by the Emiratis, our dear friends, is a sound act, because the UK has become the hotbed for appeasement and facilitation of the Muslim Brotherhood and the Islamic Republic's thugs, IRGC.
Mm-hmm.
It has become that. And we're going to have to face this fact and deal with it. Why else would a Muslim country who reads and speaks Arabic and fully is also scholared in the language of English, because they have their country leaders educated in Oxford.
We've definitely got massive problems in Britain, that's for sure. And I'm sure we could do a whole series of episodes on that topic. But I'm actually pretty keen to understand what's going on in Iran now. So you've been in touch with people who are in Iran throughout this?
I've been in touch with people in Iran, yes.
What are they telling you?
It's horrible. It's a bloodbath. The IRGC is going inside the hospitals and is shooting people who feel injured on their head on the beds. They are holding doctors hostage. They go into people's homes looking for the wounded. And they're no longer hiding the bodies. They're holding bodies hostage. If you want to bury them, you have to pay for it. But while the Iranian mothers and fathers who've lost their children have to go cry and beg and they don't even have phone lines, remember? And most of Iran doesn't know this. Majority of the other cities, they have no idea what's going on. It's a blackout.
Right.
Under a blackout, this regime only commits atrocities. And they love committing atrocities against Iranians first and the rest of the world next.
Mm.
As we saw, after Qasem Soleimani was hit, and they were offended that America took action in support of the international community's safety by assassinating their terrorist dictator, their terrorist thug Qasem Soleimani in Iraq, they shot a passenger flight, Ukrainian flight, PS-75, I believe, 753, or we'll look at that number and correct it if I'm wrong. They shoot at civilians.
Right, so it's a state of chaos and terror. It's a blackout. People can't communicate with each other. Phones are down. There's armed government officials
and Arabic-speaking Hashd Sha'bi members, because the Artesh is not going out to shoot people anymore. They are willing to face the bullets of the IRGC. The Artesh is the military of Iran.
Right. And so the reports are there's been between 12 and 20,000 killed in the last week or so.
Yes. Also, a mullah came on a...
Do you think that's accurate, the 12 to 20,000?
I think there's more.
How many do you think there are?
Considering it's already been 6 days of a blackout and their average is 10,000 a day, you do the math.
Okay. You think it's that high? Wow. And
they've done it before. They have committed atrocities of committing 30,000 on-trial executions in Iran in the 80s over the space of like a couple of weeks.
Given the blackout, how are you finding out this information?
Starlink videos that are coming out.
Okay, via Starlink. Okay.
Literally. People are calling their families.
How are they calling?
The landline, the Islamic Republic, while they put a full blackout and even cut off phone lines, sometimes randomly, they open communication to see what the Iranian people are telling the outside world. So anybody who has family or wants to call, for example, Manoto TV, because everybody has the number for Manoto TV or Iran International, the opposition television and outside television sources outside of Iran, which are Farsi speaking, and most of Iranians do not watch a state TV anymore. They have the number for these channels. And the government listens in to see who's going to call them so they can go and take them out.
Right, okay.
And that's what they've done as well.
Okay, they're deliberately doing that. And are your family safe?
No. Nobody's family is safe right now. No.
Are they in Tehran?
No, they're everywhere.
They're everywhere. And if you're, let's say, in a city, are people fleeing the cities going to...
No, they're coming to the streets to fight.
We've seen these footage.
40 friends of mine in Isfahan. They were assassinated with snipers.
In the last week.
In one go, in 5 minutes. That's the kind of massacres we have. Like, my friend is in shock who called me and told me. He's like, my friends died today, Lily. I was like, who? How many? It's like 30, 40 of them went. One of them had a lorry. They all dressed up. They all went out together and they went to protect each other, and they took the car so that they can drive over the militias, they can drive over the Basij or IRGC. And snipers shot their heads. Snipers. That's the message I have from Iran. 40 dead in 5 minutes with snipers. Some of those bodies are being thrown with the derogatory terms, thrown at the houses in front of the doors, saying, hey, come take your waste of space. The rest are held hostage for laughs, for money.
This seems pretty obvious that these protests are much bigger than the many protests we've had over the last couple of decades. Right?
It's a revolution.
You think this is a revolution. So can you explain to me how exactly we got to the point of sort of critical mass where enough people at the beginning of the protests felt brave enough to come out on this issue and actually call out the regime? Because it's those first few, right, that are the bravest. Because they're all brave now because obviously they're being massacred.
It was a simultaneous spark. When Bazaar of Tehran is a symbolic place to the entire market for Iran. And
why?
Because it's the number one place for trade in Iran, in Tehran. It's a symbolic. Historically, Bazaar of Tehran is massive. It's a symbolic place. And also, Bazaar of Tehran is where the final protest against the Shah took place that brought Khomeini
in 79.
In 79. The regime was relying on them to stay loyal to them.
And so it started at the bazaar.
It started at the bazaar. And then...
Okay. And this is after...
the effect... I'm so sorry to cut you off there, because it was very fast. It sparked literally hellfire into 120, 130 even rural cities in Iran. Simultaneously, before the nightfall, Iran was... 50 mosques were set on fire around Iran.
So the mosques represent the regime to the people.
The mosques represent the regime and the slaughterhouse in Iran. The mosque is not a place of unity, community, and holiness. No. They take Iranians there to rape and kill. They execute them. The sound of Allah Akbar that comes in the morning after the children are being hung on the cranes come from those mosques. Iranians don't want them anymore. They've had enough of being under the tyrannic regime of Islam for 1400 years. They're Zoroastrian in nature. You know, like how in Spain, when there was such heavy dimitri against the Jewish nation and heavy anti-Semitism, and a whole group of Jewish community had to pretend for about a few centuries that they're Christian. But then it all came out that they kept Judaism and they were actually practicing in their own synagogues.
Yeah.
Yes. So Iran has been culturally keeping Zoroastrianism alive, and the religion is still alive. In Iran, we have a flame that is 2,500 years old. Cyrus the Great lit that.
So when you say it's Zoroastrian in nature, to people who don't know what Zoroastrianism, I know it's it's the oldest monotheistic religions.
One of, yes.
And what does it mean to be Zoroastrian in nature? What does that
Kindness is the core of Zoroastrianism and Persian identity. The cylinder of human rights made by Cyrus the Great in the British Museum, the cylinder that has given us the laws that we are living and abiding by in terms of human rights and dignity, that comes from Persian identity. That is the core of Zoroastrianism. And that is why Cyrus put it on clay and gave it everywhere he went, so that people will have the law of human rights.
So
the equality of religion. All humans are equal and alike and valid. And kindness, nature. war. Like it's one of the most beautiful. There is no execution in Zoroastrianism. There is only togetherness. Like even if the Persian Empire managed to expand so greatly for so many millennia, for some 2.5 millennia, it's a long time, because of their openness and inclusivity to places that they went and either conquered or freed. Let us not forget, Babylon was freed from dictatorship and death when the Persians went into Babylon. The Jews and other nations under Babylonian rule were enslaved and under threat. When Cyrus's army went into Babylon, he set people free and the people joined his army to get. In the same way, today people are calling for Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi to return home and be back and aligned in the line of kingdoms as they really truly see their freedom to be rooted into depth of Persian identity. And they're calling an ally of the Crown Prince, President Donald Trump, an ally from the outside to freedom from Zahak. They call Khamenei Zahak, a mythical creature in the Persian stories of Shahnameh. This Zahak would have 2 snakes on his shoulder and he would eat the brain of the young people in order to stay alive. Every Iranian man and woman today in Iran is Kaveh Ahangar. Kaveh was a smith, a blacksmith. His sons were taken to Zahak and they were killed. He went to look for them and then he saw the death toll. He came out, he told the people, they all gathered their might, and then Zahak was defeated. Zahak will go.
Okay, so you're suggesting that they're actually believing Zoroastrians who are doing taqiyya or are pretending to be Shia, but it's also
it's not like, the thing is...
Well, in 1979, with the revolution, it was a popular revolution. So it is the case that Shiaism and Shia is popular. You don't think it is anymore?
Not anymore at all, no. Oh my God,
what makes you think that? What evidence do you have?
Because we have the highest rate of conversion to Christianity, including my own family.
Really? Within Iran?
Absolutely within Iran.
What are the rates?
I didn't know I was a Christian up until I left Iran.
Okay,
because we had to pretend that we're all Muslims.
Can you tell me about Christianity in Iran?
It's welcomed and it's under threat as well.
What exactly is the Christian movement? Can you paint a picture?
So the thing is, there is a whole lot of brainwashing under the Shia rule. And one of the things that they cannot do is deny the truth and power of Christ. They just cannot. And the pillars of Islam are from Judaism. So in order to say Islam is valid, they have to respect the 4 other prophets, as they call it: Moses, Noah, Abraham, and Jesus. And Jesus is, because he's like under the Shia lie, they say that Jesus had a premonition and he foretold the coming of Muhammad to the world. And Christian scholars foretold the coming of Muhammad to the world. And therefore, they're quite okay. But we still have to convert them into Islam. That's why Christian scholars followed Muhammad everywhere.
Okay, so Christians are considered people of the book.
People of the book, but they should be converted. Otherwise, they should be killed. Let's not forget that. It's a faith-based thing. When you see Islam failing in so many ways, and Christianity and Judeo-Christian rule doesn't fail in the same way, and it's more about, like for example, in Islam, if a woman is raped, she must be killed. In Christianity, they stop a stoning of a woman. Just logic. What spiritual rule for your life do you want in today and age? The one that's available to you. If you're seeing, because Zoroastrianism, you're not allowed to convert to Zoroastrianism if they say if you're already. So you just know that. You just know that, for example, Nowruz. Every Iranian of all religions, they celebrate Nowruz. The Jewish Iranian, the Buddhist Iranian, the Baha'i Iranian, the Christian Iranian, the atheist Iranian. We all celebrate Nowruz. It's our cultural and Zoroastrian root of Persian identity. And this regime, 47 years ago, wanted to remove even Nowruz from Iran.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted to have only Islamic calendars. So Iranians are just going back to their roots. For all of those people who are constantly rooting for like decolonization, go back to Aboriginal moves, Iranians are the Aboriginal people of the land. They have their own religion. They're just getting rid of the colonized version of their life.
Well, is it not the case that Persia, I mean, it's a large country, 90-odd million people, there's actually many different groups.
Yeah.
So if and this is perhaps part of the let's say the right-wing anti-war types, anti-interventionist types, and the sort of left-wing anti-imperial types. One thing that there may be some truth to that, the part of their arguments I think there's some validity to, is that awful as the current regime might be, we don't know what the next regime is. You're obviously advocating for Pahlavi, and it'd be interesting to investigate like how great an idea that is.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to do that with you, but it's also the case that with regime change, you just don't know what's next, and it could be that Iran descends into a state of anarchy. That there's different groups, different factions, neighboring countries perhaps take over territory within Iran. You could have another level of chaos, hypothetically.
So Iran is not the rest of the Middle East. Iran has kept its Iranness and Iran borders for thousands of years. Of course, we have like parts of Iran that was divided during the Qajar dynasty with the Ottoman Empire. That's a whole other story. But the modern Iran, since the countries have been, since the borders have been placed, the integrity of Iran has been integrity of Iran and Iranian people fighting with each other, alongside each other to keep that integrity. Anybody outside of Iran that likes to create noise and make nice, PR, presentable arguments and statements regarding this culture in Iran or that culture in Iran, they're just using their capability to con the international community into believing false ideas of like separatist ideas against Iran. Is Scotland ever going to be away from United Kingdom?
It might do.
I hope not. I like the 4 pillars of United Kingdom being together.
Look, so let's explore Reza Pahlavi, right? So obviously you made it very clear that you support him. And he's also said that he is ready if the Iranian people want him. He says he's ready. He's still in America, I believe, as we talk. I think he's been spending some of the last week in Mar-a-Lago. Having visited Mar-a-Lago, I can tell you it's a pretty nice place to be. It's not exactly in keeping with what the Iranians are going through. He could, for example, go to a border nation. I'm not suggesting he goes into Iran. He'll obviously be killed immediately, but right now. But he could go to a bordering nation. I don't know what that might be, Armenia or something.
Let's say the Emirates are the
Emirates would be a good place to go.
United Arab Emirates. They have very high security, right? Intense eyes everywhere. Jamshid Sharmat was kidnapped from an Emirati, from the Dubai airport, international airport, and then taken to Qatar, and then taken into Iran and held in prison, tortured, mutilated, and then his mutilated dead body was sent back to his daughter after years of pain. The Crown Prince is not safe just around bordering countries.
Okay, I'm not suggesting he'd be safe, but I am suggesting that if he wants to show leadership...
He is showing leadership.
How is he showing leadership?
He's showing leadership by coming forward and saying, hey, Iranian people, international media, here I am. In the same way, Khomeini showed leadership from his bedroom in Paris and the international media was his mouthpiece, sharing his message to the world. That leadership was accepted. This leadership must be accepted.
Okay, so he's standing out, he's speaking out. Now, running a country, obviously, takes talent and a lot of people.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
in Britain,
and
we've learned...
are determined to rebuild their country.
Okay, but so exactly... firstly, Pahlavi has no experience running a country. That doesn't mean that he shouldn't do it. I can't think of other suggestions to do it. But if you take as a counterexample, Venezuela, you don't like what I've just said. Yeah, say it. Go on, challenge me. Go on.
It's just Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi was raised in the court, so he has had public diplomacy and capability to be at international level since his childhood.
Raising the point, I mean, he left Iran at 17.
He left Iran at 17, but even during his childhood, he still attended state events, and he still had learnings to how to do diplomacy. And then the past 47 years of his life has been dedicated into freeing Iran through his roots of public
Being
diplomacy.
a diplomat, I think, is qualified for.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's
So
a different
now,
thing, though. That's a different question.
Running a country is on the shoulders of Iranian people who are willing to take action and show alliance with one another first. And King Reza Pahlavi, Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi. How does United Kingdom run itself? By the
It's a disaster.
hard-working... No, forget the Westminster bubble. United Kingdom has hard-working British people who love and value British value. They love and value British law, and they want to do something to make sure they have a prosperous life for themselves and their future.
Agreed. So let's just play this out, practically speaking. Let's say that the regime is toppled, either from within or from without. Hopefully from within, because I think if the Americans or whoever gets involved in toppling, that means the next regime won't have the legitimacy necessarily than if it comes from within. But that's a separate thing.
Can I
Fine, challenge me on that, yeah. Okay.
Khomeini was that exact illegitimate foreign force that came into this Iran. The past 47 years, the Islamic Republic has been a transition government.
Sure.
So
or a revolutionary government.
A revolutionary transition government,
right,
technically speaking. And they're still expanding. And all of their other things. I'm okay with the fact that Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi will be coming back to Iran with the help of foreign intervention. That's quite okay.
Okay, fine.
And also another thing, foreign intervention means opening route for a positive return to international community through business and people. We're going to have to start doing oil business internationally.
Yeah.
Do we not want to have cheaper oil prices in the UK?
Yeah. I mean, okay, seeing as you're pushing me on this point, then I'll push you back on it. It's that the 1979 revolution was a reaction in part to the 1953 coup, which was foreign intervention, and it went against the will of the people. And that period then was a build-up against that foreign intervention. So it's not always but you could go back to 1941, and actually foreign intervention was quite popular. And the golden period there came because of foreign intervention. So
after the fight between Mossadegh, the prime minister of Iran, and who was a communist, and then
This is Mossadegh in 53.
Yes.
Yeah.
After that mishmash, the Shah still was in power, and he came back to Iran. He held the parliament. He appointed a new prime minister, and then from that time until 1979, you see a modernization era, and you see prosperity in Iran, and you see Iranian women gaining a platform in her own personal life. And for me, that is not a period to be ignored just because a bunch of mullahs got together and then they
I'm only making the point that the 79 revolution was a reaction to foreign intervention.
Yes, it was, and it was a mistake.
Yeah. Okay, but so, the actual point I want to make about Reza Pahlavi is if you take the example of Venezuela today, the Americans have kept in the existing regime minus Maduro, and because if you took everything out, the whole thing would collapse.
Absolutely.
So they're working with them. In Iran, if you remove the IRGC and you remove the regime, not just to decapitate the top, not just getting rid of Khamenei, but if you actually take out the regime and you've got nothing and you've got chaos, and you expect Pahlavi to then suddenly run without any institutions, any people, what's the answer to that?
So when the Nazi regime fell, did the everyday bureaucrat that was working in the office, who was not, the Germans received the punishment of aligning with the Nazis. We saw that. But at the denazification, only the top generals, only the top perpetrators were persecuted and trialed. We want to denazify these people too. We want Iranians to learn and to come back
but Germany
out
was
of
occupied.
this...
Germany was then occupied by...
Yes, Iran. Iran, I'm not saying Iran will be occupied by the American forces, because Iran has had these past 45 years amongst its own people constantly speaking of the possible turnover. Iranian people themselves are ready for it. Even if the actors who've been holding hands for the regime to stay alive for these past 47 years have worked all of their PR tactics to keep them alive. Iranian people are holding this. Iranian people are dying in the streets today.
So you think...
And they will have the capability and the intellectual standards and the legal capability, because don't forget we had Mashrute prior, a democratic legal set of rules. Human rights existed. You know, there was law in Iran before this heavy Sharia law under the Islamic Republic. Iranian people don't want to live under Sharia law anymore.
Mm.
That's a fact.
Well, that's clear, yeah.
That's a fact. So they know what they want. They know what an Iran without the regime will be once all of these highly educated, incredible Iranian people inside of Iran who are running taxis will have jobs. They're going to create their own jobs.
Yeah.
Nobody else does that.
That's the case. But I'm actually speaking more specifically about the like 1,000 or 2,000 people that Pahlavi needs to actually run a government.
Yes.
And now
Most of
the
them
answer
are
I'm
in
getting
Iran.
from you, that I'm interpreting from what you're saying, is that there is enough talent in the country who will make themselves be
Absolutely.
seen. It's not clear to me where they are.
That's
and
because their life is in danger under this regime.
Well, that's obviously the case.
Should they be known, they will be killed. That is natural for you not to be aware of their activities and existence. Mm-hmm. It's their safety that matters more than our outside view. Mm-hmm. But the action is being taken, and we're going to have to respect that. I can't just allow, like, I understand your journalistic point of view, and I very much actually appreciate you coming and giving me all of these questions that so many people ask, and they need to be clarified. There has to be clarity for the everyday person who's listening to this, the intellectual who's listening to this podcast. Their time is valuable to me. They want to know what's going to happen to Iran.
Yeah. I'm not saying this to say you're wrong.
Absolutely.
Because I'm trying to understand what's going on.
I have to share that message.
Yeah.
Iranian people have been in isolation for 47 years. During that isolation, every time they've had a plea or applied towards regime change, somebody hijacked their movement and stole their narrative. Their story of trauma was told to them by other people. Like, our emotions are constantly being colonized by those self-righteous and self-worthy, intelligent people outside of Iran who think Iranians, really, they just want the mullahs. They really just want the mullahs. It's like saying a girl who dressed really well, she wanted to be assaulted by the man walking past her in the street. She just wanted it. She looked good enough. You know, I'm sorry, I have no... It is time for the international community to accept that Iranian people have moved on from this regime. They are moving on from this regime through action and intelligent movement. There has been conversations inside of Iran every single day and hour of the day since this regime came into place. Mm-hmm. Every taxi, every office, every house party, everybody in Iran, children speak in terms of politics and geopolitics. And that is what this regime has done to Iran and itself. Since its inception, Iranians wanted to get rid of it, and they didn't manage because the international community was too busy creating reasons for as to why this regime came in place in the first place. Well, we are okay with the fact that nobody knows. You know what? Let it be known that Iranian people, call it a self-afflicted wound. We need to dress this up. Get rid of that little bullets that we put in our own body. Mm. That's it. And Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi, he's not just some monarchy, crown-wearing, a bougie man who's only lived in greatness. He has to live in greatness. Do you know what his family has done for Iran? Do you know during the time when Iranian men were raised under the Qajar dynasty, and they were forced into being second-class citizens simply because they worked on a land and there was lords on the land. Came into country and he revolutionized Iran from being little villages to, and when I say little villages, I mean cities of history had turned into rural existences under the rule of Qajar. Cities with actual civilization and history and banking system and laws, they had become nothings. And then Reza Shah the Great, with the help of the British, came into the country, revolutionized and gave manners and modern manners, and made gentlemen out of an Iranian man. That is why we are proud of our king. That is why Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi is wanted for the Iranian people. He's a Persian identity. He's not just a good-looking prince. He's tall and handsome and dashing, of course, but, fact of the matter, he's an intelligent man who will bring Iran into freedom. And I love his wife, by the way. She's a good friend of mine.
Worth noting for the record.
Absolutely.
After
with
those
only
wonderful
respect,
compliments.
like a father to me.
Yeah. Lily Moo, it's been a great pleasure speaking with you and hearing your point of view, what's going on. I'm so sorry what's happened to your country, and I hope that your family will be safe despite the horrors. Before we move over to our Substack, where our Substack viewers have a couple of questions for you, you're leading a protest on Sunday in London, in Westminster, Whitehall, outside Downing Street.
That's right.
If people want to support you, if they want to get involved with that, if they want to learn more, what do you suggest they do?
So we have, we literally just last night opened our first Instagram page for our grassroots group called the Lion Guard of Iran. Lion Guard of Iran. That's all you have to look for on Instagram. Follow us, send us messaging. Any messages you have, any suggestions you have as to how you want to help our rally, we welcome that. And this rally is created with the help of Stop the Hate UK and Our Fight UK, our two allies who my dear friend Nia Korbani and I were fighting anti-Semitism with in the UK after October 7th. So seeing as we've been working so closely with each other in order to unite people here for finding out the real truth regarding the Middle East and the safety of United Kingdom. We do all of this first and foremost for the fact that our enemies that came, like I ran away from Iran's tyranny, not from Iran. I miss my home every day. I live in exile and I fight that regime. Iranian people are in danger of IRGC just as much as British people are in danger of IRGC in London today. And the British people have to stand with us in order to get rid of them. Because when we tried for the past 3 years, the government didn't want to listen. All the governments that have changed did not want to listen. And they carried on shaking hands with the IRGC. IRGC to the Islamic Republic is the SS soldiers to the Nazi regime. They are the worst of the worst. And so we want to have freedom of speech, the privilege of freedom of speech, experienced and carried out in the streets of Whitehall from BBC for calling the inactions of BBC and spreading lies regarding the current revolution in Iran. And
it's
not
crazy, the BBC, the way they've been total failure to report on what's going on.
The BBC is insulting the British value by doing this, because British value means truth, telling the truth. That is why we have laws here in this country. Truth is the highest of value above everything else. That's why we rely on truth in the court of law. There is no such a thing as inconvenient truth.
I don't think many people still rely on the BBC to tell the truth.
So, no, that's exactly what I mean. So if the BBC cannot be a truthful force for journalism in the UK, it does not have the integrity and the honor to carry the name British Broadcasting on it anymore.
Yeah,
they have to answer. And so we're taking a rally with
so you're starting the
British
BBC.
Friends. Yes.
You started the BBC at what time?
2 p.m., but from 1 o'clock, people are going to start gathering
And
there.
you're going to walk down to Downing Street.
And then we're walking down to Downing Street till 5 p.m.
Well,
Thank you for this.
Lily, I appreciate you put your life on the line, that you're an extremely brave woman, and I have great admiration for you, and I hope that the good people of Iran see freedom soon, and that the horrors end as soon as possible.
Thank you very much. I hope I didn't ramble too much regarding Iran's situation. It's a very complex story, and there are so many whataboutism stories that parallel sort of go along with this, and that those parallel stories that cause confusion for the real true message of Iran, which is King Reza Pahlavi in English by the mouths of those protesters who are getting shot at. Saying his name is treason. There's a reason for that. This regime doesn't want it. And the BBC doesn't say his name because the BBC brought in Khomeini into Iran.
What do you mean the BBC brought them in?
The BBC was the PR mouthpiece for Khomeini. They PR'd him so well. Look at all of his documentaries. Yes, they did a PR against the Shah. They even, prior to 1979 takeover, the BBC Farsi part had an impersonator who could sound like the Shah. They had a recording of him saying the Shah has said, just go and kill the people. The BBC amplified that message. And then when the Iranian Farsi speaker journalist in the BBC did a walkout because of that disrespect, then I think they retracted it. And that is how we know this actually happened.
That was in 79.
Prior to 79.
The BBC spreading disinformation since 1979. What a legacy.
Absolutely.
Lily Moo, thank you so much. Let's head over to Substack and take some of those questions.
Go for it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching The Winston Marshall Show with our guest, Lily Moo. If you head over to winstonmarshall.co.uk right now, you'll enjoy an extended conversation between me and Lily, where she takes some of our Substackers' great questions and we go a little bit deeper on all issues regarding what's going on in Iran. That's all at winstonmarshall.co.uk. Otherwise, thank you for watching. Thank you for your continued support. Remember to press subscribe, and until next time, be well.